Okay, so this is a video no crypto investor ever wants to make. I got hacked and I lost a ton of money. I've taken a couple of weeks before making this video as I wanted to ensure that I got as much facts and understand as much as possible how this happened, as well as to ensure I've locked down everything and I'm now following my own advice and best practices. I've changed my email addresses associated with my crypto accounts. I still don't have all the answers, so feel free to contribute in the comments. Also, I needed to wait until I was in a better state of mind to try and go through what happened logically and not emotionally. So why am I doing this video? After such a devastating event, I have two options. Either curl up and cry and go into self-pity mode, or I can own it, learn from it, and try to move on. So I needed to go through this process to create this video as a kind of therapy to enable me to try and do just that. Having suffered a devastating crypto loss before as a user of the Celsius platform, where I lost 2 Bitcoin and 10 Ethereum back in 2022 and got something back like, I don't know, 20 cents on the dollar after almost 2 years of waiting. I got a lot of information from YouTubers like Aaron Bennett and Tiffany Fong, so I know how sharing the experience can help, and I know the healing power of this community. And if there's one thing I've learned, that in this community there's a hell of a lot more good people in it than there are bad. So I'm going to try and do my bit, as painful though it is, to try and hopefully prevent this happening to others, because believe me, you never want to be feeling like this. So I'm really going to try and not go into self-pity mode and to keep things constructive. I just want to go through what happened to me and hopefully save this from happening to you. So who am I? I'm not a professional YouTuber or video editor, as the quality of this video will show. I'm not a digital forensics. I'm just a regular family guy who got into Bitcoin in 2017 as a retail investor, with a belief in a distributed global digital currency and a hope that one day it could give me and my family some financial freedom in the future. Me, my wife, and my young daughter would often say, one day we'll be able to buy a big house and we'll call it Bitcoin Towers. You hear about hacks all the time and think it'll never happen to me, but it did. And I'm sure there are probably lots of people like me still out there that are not taking the required precautions to prevent this from happening. Take this shit seriously. It's you and your family's financial future at stake. So what did happen to me? Well, in short, I had both my Coinbase and my Binance accounts emptied in the space of 17 minutes, with a total loss of $52,000 or 40,000 British pounds. 35k from Coinbase and 17k from Binance. But to clarify, this was not the exchanges that were hacked. It was me. As far as the exchanges are concerned, these were legitimate transactions, and it was me making them. We're always told, in fact, the login banners of these exchanges states, don't invest unless you're prepared to lose all your money. This is high risk and you should not expect to be protected if something goes wrong. So essentially saying, unless it's us that gets hacked, you're on your own. And being fair, both Coinbase and Binance, were very sympathetic and very helpful in helping me regain access to my accounts and tightening up security. And I advise all my friends accordingly. Always use hardware wallets. Never leave large amounts on exchanges. Never invest more than you're prepared to lose. And of course, the mantra, not your keys, not your crypto. So let's quickly break that statement down just to see how I ended up with an amount I certainly wasn't prepared to lose. Well, as mentioned, I've been DCAing into Bitcoin since 2017. And in the early years, it was an amount I did accept the risk I could lose. But I invested more, and as my traditional investments matured, I put them into crypto as the return was obviously much higher. So my crypto exposure grew organically over several years. Also, as I diversified my portfolio to contain a balance of low, medium, and high risk coins, and And many of these higher risk coins weren't supported on hardware wallets, or certainly at the time, so I left them on the exchanges. And over the years, I've hodled on. I've ridden the ups and the downs through bear markets and crypto winters, survived the Celsius crash, although took a big hit. So sold off other traditional investments, like my prized comic collection that I've had for over 30 years. And I bought Bitcoin with the proceeds to get some skin back in the game, which makes this hack all the more gutting, not to mention just as October started to get real. Believe me, it's heartbreaking watching the bull market kick off and mid-cap coins I took a punt on like FET, Aero and Ondo starting to pump, knowing I don't have them anymore. So I've stopped monitoring prices and turned off all my notifications. So that's how my crypto exposure grew to an amount I certainly wasn't prepared to lose. And it gradually happened over time to almost go unnoticed. Suffice to say, money you're absolutely relying on for your future should certainly not be on an exchange or even on crypto for that matter. That money needs to be somewhere safe, traditional, with regulation and protection. But let's stay constructive. So, what did happen? Let's walk through this. You have to see how many times you want to say, "You dumbass." But don't worry, it's nothing me and my wife haven't called myself dozens of times in the last couple of weeks since this has happened. Okay, so this is all the elements that are involved in the equation, if you like. So I've got my home PC. There we go. Let me just stick the. I had to do like a little presentation just to try and abstract the emotion out of this, try and be a bit more professional. So I've got my home PC with my local password vault, where I kept all my strong exchange passwords, and obviously my Ledger hardware wallet with some bit of BTC and ETH on it. I've got my mail provider and my email account and my AV provider, and also a password vault within the antivirus platform. I've got my SaaS-based crypto portfolio, which was effectively a private account that just showed where all my crypto was, how much it was, where it was, what exchanges it was on, etc., just so I could just keep track of it all myself. Because as you can imagine, you get a bit of a sprawl if you've got numerous wallets and numerous exchanges involved. So it was just a way of tracking that portfolio. And of course, you've got my the exchanges I was using, Coinbase and Binance. I've got my Microsoft account, which has access to things like your OneDrive, your OneNote, and then my Google account, which has access to things like my Google Drive and Google Password Manager. Now, you sometimes forget that in this world of cloud, that your Google and your Microsoft accounts are cloud provided, i.e., for your convenience, you can access them from anywhere, from any time, almost like your front door on a public road. So anyone potentially can try, a key in your lock. You can't stop them. It's a public road. So obviously, this, as long as your locks are nice and secure, that keeps the bad people out. Okay, so at some point, my email address has obviously been flagged as of interest to hackers. Most likely, this was probably on a past data breach from probably a Celsius or Ledger. And I received emails saying that my email had been leaked, my email address had been exposed. But I wasn't too worried, as my exchange passwords were very strong and stored in my local non-cloud-based software vault. I didn't think the hackers would try and target my Microsoft and Google accounts, because you forget that they're sort of cloud-facing. But now I would, and hopefully you do too, that these accounts have got to be protected. Because reviewing the logs, I can see that hundreds of failed attempts to log into my Microsoft account going back 2 months. And on October the 27th, 2024, hack day, as I call it, that logging attempt was successful. My Microsoft account password wasn't particularly strong and was based on a word with a few letters changed to a few numbers. So, again, this is like a burglar outside your house trying lots of keys in your lock, and it's a lot quicker if he's got 100 keys in his bunch rather than several 100,000 keys. Obviously, it's best for burglars never to know there's something in your house worth stealing in the first place, so you should look out for emails on data breaches where your email address or details may be released. As mentioned above, when I checked the deep web through my AV tools, my email address was indeed listed as being exposed in both the Celsius and a Ledger breach. So as mentioned, when I checked the deep web, my email address was, and my Google login and logins I use for all exchanges were listed. So the hacker got into my Microsoft account, and stupidly I used the same ID and password for my Google account. So the hacker has now access to my OneDrive and my OneNote in my Microsoft account. But guess what? As I say, it's the same password that I use for my Google account. There was also on my OneNote a password protected file with a lot of non-critical passwords in it. But again, that password that opened that password protected OneNote file was the same password to get to my Microsoft account. So again, essentially making that null and void. So the hacker had access to all of those passwords, so all of which I've had to now change. I could see on the metadata for my OneDrive and my Google Drive that the hacker accessed every file on them, had a look to see if there was anything of interest. Okay. So stage one, if you like. So hacker gains access to my email address. Well, how did he do that? Well, on my Google Password Manager, there was all my logons for my webmail. So, and it's the mail account I use for my Coinbase and Binance authentications. So in my Google Password Manager that the hacker can now open and view all my passwords, of which there was probably a couple of hundred, including the critical ones. I never normally would keep my Coinbase and Binance passwords in my Google Password Manager because they're held only locally in my local vault. But obviously at some point when I've logged into Binance and Coinbase, the little box has probably popped up and said, oh, for your convenience, would you like to save this password in your Google Password Manager for next time? And obviously I've said yes, which in effect makes my local non-cloud vault now irrelevant because the passwords are now stored in my cloud-based Google Password Manager. So note for next time. Okay, so, and again, I can see that the hacker's gone through my Google Drive and has accessed everything. So now effectively he's got all of my local passwords and he's got access to my email. So my Microsoft account's been hacked. Same password to get into my Google account, so I can see in the logs from my Microsoft account. So I had numerous unsuccessful login attempts going back for the last 2 months. Obviously, the hacker was behind a VPN because his location and his IP address was rotating. But on hack day, that password reset was successful, and that's the day it all happened. Okay, so hackers now got into my Google Password Manager, and as mentioned, stupidly, practically every password that I use, including my exchange account passwords, were in there. So he's now effectively able to take over my email. He can get into my antivirus provider and the password vault there. And also, he's obviously gone through my Google Password Manager. Anything that looks vaguely crypto related, he's gone through and logged into, including my private portfolio account, which actually tells them, everything what exchange things are on, how much is there, etc. Okay, so and then you can say there's a little snapshot of my Google Password Manager, which obviously contains all my crypto passwords stupidly. And again, when I say stupidly, As long as my Google account itself was secure, there's no reason they would have ever got to these. But because my Google account itself, as again, it's public street facing, so if that's a weak password, they can just try as many keys in your lock as possible. Once they're through that front door, they're into the practically everything else. Okay, so at 14:08, I get an email that a new Google passkey has been added to my account, and that certainly wasn't me. So the hacker generates a 2FA two-step authentication backup code in my Google account. I can probably show you the timeline. So he adds his own passkey, and I could tell that when I've subsequently looked at all my devices, there was this one device, a OnePlus 10 Pro 5G device that certainly isn't mine. That device created a passkey within my Google password manager. And at 14:09, that Google two-step authentication backup codes get generated. And then at 14:09, there's a new Binance sign-in. How did he get into my Binance? Because he's got my login, he's got my password, he's got access to my email. He didn't have I assumed at this stage my phone must have been cloned because he must have my own TFA, because my 2FA, because my authenticator was on there. But if you go into Binance, you can say my 2FA is not available, and it will send you a one-time password to your email. He's got my email, so hence why he was able to circumvent my 2FA from my Google Authenticator. So at 2:10, he's logged into my Google via one of those 8-digit backup codes that he created. I'll say he, the hacker. And then there was a new Binance passkey added, which is obviously relating to his phone, not mine. And then he has transferred 17K worth of crypto. He's converted it all to ETH and transferred it to his own crypto wallet. As can be seen in my Binance logs. So he's again converted everything to ETH and then transferred it out. So that's log showing that he converted all the injective to ETH and then all the FET and ETH transferred to his own wallet. I assume that ETH transactions are probably faster, hence why he converted everything to ETH before moving it out. So at this stage, I'm still none the wiser. Because he's got my email, he's moving all of the email notifications straight into spam. I checked to see if there's any rules created to auto-direct them, and there wasn't. So I think they was just doing it manually. Because when I regained access to my email, I could see in my spam that all of these authentication requests were still sitting in there. Okay, so at 2:27, I do get an email from Coinbase asking if I've just added a passkey to my Coinbase account. So at that stage, it's red alert, because I think, well, I definitely didn't do that. I guess the hackers didn't get a chance to move that email into spam fast enough, so I actually got that email on my phone, and that was the first indication that I was being hacked. So I logged straight into Coinbase and Binance, but by that time, everything had gone. The hardest thing at this stage was not knowing exactly what had been compromised and how it was done. So I had to assume that everything was compromised and the hackers had access to everything, including all the files on my PC. They had cloned my phone for the 2FA resets, had installed software and password loggers on my PC. And that may not have been correct at the time, but it was the safest assumption to make. But since I put all the pieces together, it turned out they never had to do nearly as much as that. Effectively, my email being hijacked enabled them, was the last part of the equation for the hacker to effectively become me, in having all of my usernames, passwords, and my email for all the confirmations, receiving and responding to all authentication confirmations when 2FA is unavailable. And again, they moved all of these straight into the spam, so I never got to saw them. Okay, so then at 2:28, Coinbase passkey was added, and then effectively my Coinbase account was all converted to ETH and emptied to the same Ethernet wallet, Ethereum wallet. So now the hacker has all of my crypto from both of those exchanges, and they're the Coinbase logs, just to show that everything was converted to Ethernet and then moved out. At this stage, I'd run Coinbase, and they shut down my account, which was very helpful. Definitely more after shutting the stable door after the horses bolted, but I guess they can only do what they can do. When I had a look at my Google account activity during the period of the hack, I could see that while the hacker was logged on as me through Google, obviously they just went through everything. My Coinbase, various wallets, Binance, even logged into Celsius, not sure what they expected to find there. Crypto Compare, which was at the time the portfolio site I was using. And I did mention in the title of this video that they left me a nice calling card, and it was there they left it. So I'll show you what that is shortly. I assumed with the speed of this, because literally they emptied everything. They touched not only the exchanges I used, exchanges like Bitmart, Bitmax, exchanges I haven't used for a while. They logged into all of those as well in that same time frame, some of which was simultaneous. So I assume there was some bot activity going on or some sort of hacking automation. But when I looked at my Google logs, during the time of the hack, it says I was watching YouTube videos, which these are definitely not any videos that I watched. So I find it a bit difficult to believe that they were sitting there hacking me of $52,000 and while watching various YouTube videos, but that's what the logs show. So the only BTC the hacker couldn't get was the small amount of BTC and ETH I kept on my ledger, probably where everything should have been in the first place for maximum protection, but how many times do we all say that? So shout out to Ledger for protecting the small amount of crypto I've got left. So essentially that's a $52,000 loss in 17 minutes. So bad day at the office for me. Definitely a good day at the office for the hackers. Okay, so just a few tips how this could have been prevented before I show you the calling card that he left me. Probably I won't read them out verbatim. So effectively, the security is only as strong as the weakest link in the chain. You can have the most strong, complex crypto exchange passwords like I had, but if you've saved them in your Google password manager and your Google account gets compromised, then that password and all the other passwords you've saved can be clearly viewed in plain text. They can just log into your password manager, have a look at them, and then it's circumvented any other password protections that you happen to be used. So you've got to consider your whole security ecosystem. Look for make sure all the links in that chain are strong and protected as much as you can. So your Google accounts, your Microsoft accounts, protect them with 2FA, add pass keys, add your phone numbers to all of those accounts. Obviously, use all the recommended protections on exchanges. As I said, I've been using these exchanges since 2017, and I just haven't kept up to date with all the additional security features, like the pass keys, like the whitelists, where you can only transfer crypto to particular destination wallet addresses. Things like vault protection, where if you're going to hodl in the exchanges, that every withdrawal requires 48 hours notice, and you get 48 hours to cancel any transactions, things like that. Obviously, the hardware wallet protected the little bit I've got left. So yeah, use hardware wallets as a matter of course. If the coin you want isn't supported on your hardware wallet, you can probably use a software, a web wallet, but tie it to your Ledger or your hardware wallet, because you can export those keys out to many software wallets now. Keep a note of emergency numbers, contacts. When obviously this was happening and I didn't which way to turn, having an immediate number or immediate contact for your exchanges, your Coinbase, your mail provider, that you can just ring them straight up and say, right, this, I'm being hacked, stop all activity, rather than having to just go out and try and find numbers of who to talk to. Have that already. Obviously, an obvious one now, don't save critical passwords in your Google Password Manager. Use a local, non-cloud password vault, and don't store them passwords anywhere else. Know your device names and make a note of them so you can recognize devices that aren't yours. Again, just go into your Microsoft and Google account. You'll see what devices are logging into your account. When I checked this, there was that phone that definitely wasn't mine, and they were using Firefox web browser. Again, not a web browser I use. And again, obvious, don't use the same passwords on multiple platforms. Use strong, unique passwords as a matter of habit. Obviously, use a good AV malware protection that monitors all your email and on your phone. Minimize your attack services. We mentioned the Google account, your Microsoft account, which is just like your front door. You can't stop burglars trying keys in your front door as much as you'd like. So just minimize those cloud exposures where you can, and minimize and break that attack service into multiple micro segments by using unique passwords everywhere. And don't expose unnecessary information like how much crypto you have and where it is. For example, your portfolio trackers, obviously they should be private and well protected. Stay anonymous as best as you can. Obviously, if these hackers didn't know there was some honey in the pot on my exchanges, they probably wouldn't have bothered. Monitor the dark web for your details. A lot of AV software will do this for you now. And again, if you get any emails that says your email account has been leaked, make sure your password's nice and strong. Use unique email addresses for your crypto accounts. I used my same day-to-day email for all of my crypto accounts. So again, they've got half the information there to log into your account. If possible, use a clean, dedicated device for your crypto access, like a laptop with good AV protection. Not cluttered up with all the apps. So so malware is a lot easier to spot, for example. Obviously, never click emails in links unless you're sure, and things like that. And don't get complacent. Carry on best practices. Do your small test transactions before you transfer any large amounts. So I mentioned he left me a nice calling card. So in the Crypto Compare portfolio tracker that I used, obviously that password was in my Google Password Manager as well. And I can see in my Google activity that they did do a search on that Crypto Compare site, and then they logged into it using my credentials. And as you can see, it had a mention of a very helpful map to where all my crypto was, most of which was on Binance and Coinbase. And then they edited my injective list to say no injective. I was effed by Nick Sudo. So that was a nice little bit to rub it in with at the end. Okay, so that's my story, how I ended up there. As I say, this is my ledger details. If you found this video useful and want to send me a beer to get some skin back in the crypto game, that's my BTC and my ledger account there. So no big exchange exposure for me anymore. So I hope you found this video useful, and stay safe out there. And to say, this stuff isn't just legendary. Hackers are out there. This is how they're trying to exploit your account. So look after it, and hope one day you all guys can get your Bitcoin towers. Take it easy.